Hello, guys. Welcome back to BoreDraw, episode 35?
35.
35. We're getting into it now. And today, we got a nice special guest. We got Mr. Casey Evans with us. How you doing, Casey?
I'm good, thanks. I think 35 episodes might be a bit further than getting into it, but I think, yeah. So,
especially because we churn out so, especially like when the World Cup came round, because there was football literally every single day, we were just churning out so much content that we haven't really clocked how much we've done. But it's so much football recently.
Yeah, and especially now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of the season.
Yeah, Champions League's
season,
back.
Champions League, yeah, it's all kicking off.
So much football.
But yeah, no, it's all good. How are you feeling about the Premier League table so far? Obviously, you're a Man United fan yourself. Had a little bit of a stumbling start to the season, I would say. But
seem to be evening out now. And not even evening out, kind of pushing onwards. Yeah, it's looking...
Some saying dark horse for a title race.
I wouldn't go far as dark horse for the title race. I'm keeping the modesty. I saw a lot of people on Twitter. It's like, oh, how can United fans not think to be part of the title race? And I'm like, has Twitter indoctrinated everyone so far that we're just kind of now at a point where everyone has to be in a title race if they're somewhere within a couple of points?
100%.
But at the same time, yeah, I mean, I'm happy with where we are. I think that we're doing well. And whatever comes from the season. I'm hoping we get some silverware. I'm hoping we finish in the top 4. But I'm not really going to go, oh, let's get into the fight with Arsenal and City and see what happens. So
yeah, I think that's quite a thing that's happened recently is that Arsenal obviously had an amazing season so far. And they've sort of, it's like you're looking at it as maybe it's the Arteta project now is finally paying off because they stuck with him and they give him time. And a lot of people are now correlating Man United to being in the early stages of their Ten Hag project. But you're looking at it now, though, some of the football that you are playing is unreal. And maybe that's all down to Marcus Rashford coming into great form and maybe the loss of Ronaldo. But yeah, it's interesting to see that because Arsenal, obviously, what are they, like 4 years into their Arteta project?
Yeah, like 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5 years. And obviously it's paying dividends now. It's at top of the table. But yeah, how do you feel about like sort of them bringing in Ten Hag, adopting his sort of philosophy around football and backing him a little bit in the transfer window?
Well, yeah, it was kind of what we all wanted. It was what we all wanted, kind of like a bit of like streamlined thinking, I think is probably the way to put it. It's like we wanted to bring in a manager to actually buy players that the manager wanted, or at least in the profile of the manager wanted. And we wanted everyone to kind of be on the same page going forward. So I'm glad that that's happened. Obviously, we need to invest a bit more, getting some more players. Obviously, as you mentioned, Ronaldo's now left, so that kind of leaves a massive thing up front. And I think the thing with most United fans is they're kind of happy not to be involved in the title race in terms of the conversations because, as you know, a lot of our goals come through Marcus Rashford. Yeah. And we've only just, I think, got into double figures in goal difference. Like we're still not great. We're getting the results and everything, but there's that thing where you're always like, yeah, there's going to be a couple of bad results in there, and as soon as those bad results come, we're not in the title race anymore, or we're not if we were ever in it in the first place. So, but I'm happy with what Ten Hag's doing. I'm happy with the football he's bringing. As you said, we've been playing some great football.
Yeah, and like we said, it's still super early days. You're only half a season into his tenure at United, and like you've said, there hasn't really been a kind of blip as per se yet. You're in like quite a lot of wins at the moment, and it's kind of similar to Arsenal this season. We had lots of wins, and now we're on back-to-back no wins, and it's how the players react to not getting decent results. And it's similar to Man United. It'll be interesting to see if, say, Ten Hag has a couple of bad results, how he handles it, how the team handles it, and how the fans handle it. Because I feel like Arsenal fans and United fans are quite similar in the sense of they're very vocal all over Twitter. That's all you get is angry Arsenal fans, angry United fans.
I feel like Arsenal and United are one of the two fairer clubs in terms of their fans on their opinions around their managers. I feel like a lot of United fans gave Ole Gunnar Solskjaer a lot more time than maybe he warranted in that job. And when Arteta wasn't getting the results he should have been getting earlier on in that Arsenal project, Arsenal fans did decide to stick by him. There was the loud minority with the Arteta out. So I feel like in that sort of sense, you're quite lucky in terms of your fans in your both respective clubs. Whereas you get fans in the clubs like Chelsea.
Yeah, Chelsea fans are just a different breed though, aren't they?
They're playing for managers long gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Chelsea fans very quickly went against Potter, or at least in the stadium. I think that's the kind of the difference is like online. You obviously can vocal extremes are projected on either side. It's like, oh, if someone's incredibly positive, the people who want to support the manager will put that up. If people are incredibly negative, the really negative opinions will get put up. I think what Arsenal fans and United fans is always a good measure is how they act in the stadium. I think because obviously United fans did start booing football last season when it was Ranić. But Chelsea fans singing for Thomas Tuchel when you're about 3 months into Graham Potter's reign is not a great sign, really.
No, I totally agree. And I think it's one of those things, isn't it? It's, like you said, you kind of get that sense at the stadiums that either a team will back their manager or won't back their manager. And I think so being at a couple of Arsenal games this season, you can really tell, like, and even Arteta's come out and said it, and the players have come out and said it, that the atmosphere at the Emirates, Arsenal has always been like touted as this stadium that's a bit of a library. But apparently this season, and from the games I've been at, it's been crazy. So it's you can see that when a team are backed by their fans and they can feel it in the stadium, it's good. And I think Man United are kind of similar to that now, aren't they? You see like Marcus Rashford putting up crazy numbers. The fans are seeing football that they enjoy. And you could kind of compare that to Spurs, where the fans are, all I'm hearing is that they're sick of Conte ball now. And it's, the fans want to see more than just like a name. They want to see football that inspires them.
It's amazing what some wins can do for you, though, isn't it? You could turn a ground from a graveyard into literally like a rave. With a couple wins. But it is really interesting. You spoke about Marcus Rashford there. Obviously, I think since the turn of the
World Cup ending.
The World Cup ending. Yeah, that's the one. He's pretty much outperformed Haaland every week.
Probably got to be like the best player on the planet at the moment, surely.
I struggle to think of anyone in the Premier League, let alone like maybe the planet, who is hitting the heights of Marcus Rashford.
Casey, what do you reckon his turn of form has been? Because like in the World Cup, he looked really good as well. So he came into the World Cup on like a couple of goals and then got playing. So he was behind Saka in the pecking order for England, but came on and played quite a few minutes, got a couple of decent goals. And then he came out of the World Cup absolutely flying. What do you reckon his upturn in form has been down to?
I would say there's a very big roadblock in his way been removed. I'll put it as that way. I think he showed glimpses of it before the World Cup. I think that was quite clear, especially like we saw in the Europa League and some like those. I think there was a headed goal. I can't remember. I think it was against Sheriff Tiraspol, where he just ran into the box, found the space, and headed it. And when everyone saw that, they were like, "Oh, that's something we've never seen from Rashford before." That sort of awareness in the box and the heading ability. And he's obviously since then he's put it in the back of the net with his head quite a few times. But I think the thing with Ronaldo was he had a very what's the word? He was very clear how he wanted to play the game, and that was he wanted to be the one who received it on the left hand side of the pitch. The only problem is that's where Marcus Rashford occupies the space. So I think that now Ronaldo's gone, it's given Rashford a lot more space to operate in. He's not running into Ronaldo. He's able to run into the box. And I honestly think one of the biggest things has been what Benny McCarthy's been doing behind the scenes with a lot of our forwards. You can see that a lot of our forwards are making better shots, or actually more confident taking shots. I think that you see Rashford, he gets on the ball, he actually looks up and he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to shoot there. And he can do it with left and right as well. That's the thing. Like when it came into this season, I was like, Rashford is a left winger. He probably will be a left winger for the rest of his career. He started as a striker, but now it's the left wing. But now I'm like, could be a striker. He's like left foot, right foot, headers. Like his movement off the ball is great. Like everything that he was kind of missing, even when he was at his best, I think he's kind of taken up this season.
Yeah, 100%.
I think this is flying. I think this is the biggest peak he's hit so far in his career, and obviously, from an outside perspective, as someone who doesn't watch him every single week, you can always tell with him, especially in like the game against PSG, where I was a bit of this is me game.
Yeah,
he's always had like his ceiling, like that he could hit, is
crazy.
To be honest, it might be up there with the levels of like an Mbappe. Like in terms of the absolute best version of Marcus
Yeah,
Rashford.
he's got like all the attributes, doesn't he? He's big, he's fast, he's strong,
He's technically brilliant.
And
like you said, now he's picking up that sort of killer instinct. He's picking up spaces that he wouldn't have previously when he was a bit younger, maybe. He's finding himself in positions. He's learning how to create chances for others by generating space for them.
Yeah, I think he backs himself a bit more now. Like back in the day, he'd have stars around him that he'd be like, oh, I'll give him the ball and he can steal the show. But now I think he thinks he's the main guy at United. And I think he's thriving under that kind of responsibility, which is nice to see.
Yeah, I think there was a time when you saw with Rashford, you had his base level confidence, but then you had his uber confident self, which you sometimes see at the time where he's like, I'm going to try and dribble past everyone, and you're like, no, don't do that. Like you're going to get stopped. And I think like under Ten Hag, under Solskjaer when he got the best out of him, but now under Ten Hag, you're seeing like a manager who's going, okay, you can dribble past people, but don't do it every time. Here's the little level we want you to kind of stay in the little. It's like when you're playing like a video game and it's like that red there, green there, and you got to just kind of keep it. Just stay there. Yeah, just stay there. We don't want you like not confident to take people on, but we don't want you trying to take everyone on. Just in that little zone. So I think that's kind of where we're seeing Rashford right now.
No, I totally agree. I think he's flying.
Someone who has maybe divided opinion quite a bit since his introduction is Anthony. As a United fan, how do you feel about him? Because I see a lot of either you love him or you hate him.
And I've been slandering him, and I don't feel bad about it. I'm an Arsenal fan, by the way. Luke's a QPR fan. And I've been slandering Anthony, not because I think he's bad, like a bad player. He's perfectly fine. I don't mind that. I think just when you see on one side what Rashford's doing and how direct, I love players that are direct. Like I love Saka, Rashford, those kind of players that will square you up and just be like, I'm going to beat you every single time. Whereas I think Anthony, for me, he just like recycles the ball too much. He's so cautious. And
I feel like you love saying that you should be playing futsal.
I think he's a futsal player. What do you think?
I think when you have that sort of price tag on you, you're always going to have this problem that you're always going to have this expectation that you probably won't meet. And I think it always there's two different levels to that. I think if you have that price tag on you, you'll always have like problems meeting it. I think if you have that price tag on you when your team still needs investment in other areas, it gets so much worse.
Yeah.
I think like Jack Grealish 100 million, City fans didn't even really bother with it. They're like, yep, Jack Grealish. He's like, when he plays, it's all right. I'm not really going to like comment on it. There wasn't like anyone going for his head, but that was because that City team was absolutely rock solid all the way through. But yeah, I think he's had this expectation to come in, and he's like, yeah, he's 85 million. He knows how Ten Hag plays football. He knows what Ten Hag wants. He'll be like insta fit, know what he's doing, all that sort of stuff. I think obviously we've all had this perfect idea in our heads. I don't think that's the case. I think he knows what Ten Hag wants of him. That's why he's quite conservative in how he tries to bring it back in and tries to play it. Yeah. And I think that we're only now recently seeing right backs that kind of mimic the sort of movements that Ten Hag wants from his right back. So when he was recycling it, it was because no one was overlapping.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of that as well. And I think it was one of those things that I think he was never really going to hit the ground running this season. I think he was going to get some goals. He probably would eventually grow into it. Yeah. Like he has that strike in him. That strike is always a good get out clause for those sorts of players that kind of have that time where they're like, yeah, they can just curl one in the top corner, and you're like, yep,
100%,
fine, yeah, I'm happy with that. Can't really stop that one. Yep. But I think the longer Ten Hag's project goes on, the more he'll look better. But obviously, as I said, the problem is people want results straight away because of how much he costs.
Yeah, interesting. Just before we move on to talk about VAR and the problems that's causing us,
I'm vexed.
You brushed on the point that Ten Hag is now getting right backs that do what he wants in his system. It's been quite an interesting season for Man United in terms of their in terms of their whole back four. Really, you've seen. I think they lined up against Leeds with Luke Shaw and Harry Maguire, which is strange to see. But Diego Dalot and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I know Dallow's been out recently with a few injuries. I think did he play against Leeds? I can't remember.
I think he was back against Leeds.
But Aaron Wan-Bissaka came in, notorious for being sort of a very good defensive right back and lacking a bit of forward brain power. Yeah, but he came in, and I don't think he looked out of place in that Ten Hag system. I thought he was actually quite impressive in a few games.
Yeah, I mean, before we get into the right back situation, I'm just going to say Lisandro Martinez, love him to bits. I absolutely
Yeah,
adore that man. I thought it was great at Ajax, and he's just exceeded my expectations of how easily he slipped in. So we're just going to get that out of the way. Also, I'm going to say that because you're an Arsenal fan and you didn't get. So, I mean, you're happy with Zinchenko probably, but still. But yeah, in terms of our right backs, I think Wan-Bissaka always had he was deceptively good at carrying the ball forward, which he had really good numbers. I think no one really ever noticed those sort of numbers, but his dribbles in like the middle of the pitch were always quite good. It was always his problem that he just never seemed to know what to do once he got past like into the final third.
It's like Arsenal's problem with Nuno Tavares. Very similar. Where
quite well.
Except yours is the back third with Nuno Tavares. He was just hanging around in the top third. It just didn't come back.
Carrying the ball, he's just crazy.
Maybe we should blend them into one player.
Yeah, but no, I totally agree. I think Wan-Bissaka, he's got everything you want in a defender. He's like ability to tackle a man 1-on-1, different level. His ability to beat his winger, different level. But yeah, it's like you said, it's in those clinical areas in the final third.
The right pass.
Yeah, he can't seem to consistently find the right final pass.
Wilfred Zaha said it. He was like, there was a point in a game against Man United where he was like 3 on goal, and he's like the only person that could make that tackle was Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah.
And he looked over his shoulder and guessed he was there.
Yeah,
but I think we've seen in terms of like tactical play, a lot of teams are adopting a formation where they'll play a flat 4 at the back, but when in possession, they'll drop it into a 3, and
one of the wingbacks.
Yeah, one of the wingbacks would tuck in and create a block in the midfield. Wouldn't Aaron Wan-Bissaka be like the ideal player for that?
That was always a question mark that a lot of people brought up, whether Wan-Bissaka would be a good DTM. I think he panics a bit too much when he's on the ball, and I think one of the things that I always say about Wan-Bissaka is he's really good one-on-one. You put 2 people against him, he has no clue where he's going. I think it's always been clear when he has a run at the back post, he'll always mark the person who's in front of him and never the person who's behind him. But I remember there was a game against City, maybe last season or season before. It was a 2-1, or it was 2-0, sorry. João Cancelo ruined us because what Pep did was he put Foden out wide and he just said, Foden, just go and stand on the touchline. It was like, I'll stand on the line here. Foden just stood there, wait till Wan-Bissaka came up to think he was going to drill past it. And every single time he just played into João Cancelo, who had just this massive amount of space because Wan-Bissaka was just nowhere near it. But yeah, and I think that positional awareness in the midfield would be just 10 times worse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, big time.
So that's my thought on it. But he has done that little bit of inverting, I think, currently. I think because Dalot does it a lot. I know Dalot is the one who usually inverts, and that's why he doesn't overlap as much.
Yeah.
Because on the other side, you just have Luke Shaw, who is genuinely just a perfect defender, like a perfect fullback. I think he's an excellent player.
Yeah, he is quality. He's had his critics throughout his time at Man United. Jose Mourinho being one of his biggest critics, but yeah, he's just blossomed into like United's most probably consistent player throughout all the different managers that you've had in the past like 3 or 4 years. And yeah, I'd say he's probably England's best left back. I know Ben Chilwell is in the discussion, but he's injured all the time.
Always injured, yeah. And
I really like Luke Shaw. I think he's so dependable.
He is one of those sort of like enigmas of football because he was so brilliant at Southampton.
Yeah.
And then you made this move and you look back on it and you say it never really worked out. But the closer you look into it, he has always been there.
Yeah.
And throughout the seasons, and he's had really good points throughout his seasons. And I think it's the struggle of keeping those performances. Maybe instead of having like an 8 out of 10 for like 3 months of the season, maybe dropping that to a 7 out of 10, but for the whole season, because he will drop those games where he has clangers. But maybe that's just due to who he's being partnered with in that left centre back role.
Yeah, I think there was obviously the lead break, which really I think hampered his the thing. And I think he's only recently had the pins taken out for that, so that's how long that's been kept with him. But I think the thing with Luke Shaw as well is that he came at a time when fullbacks, especially in the terms of attacking output, very much was then focused on the results basis of it. In terms of you had Trent getting 15 assists, you had Robertson getting double figures as well. Like you had other fullbacks. I'm trying to think of names off the top of my head, but
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Marcelo.
Joao Cancelo, like coming in and doing double figures and doing all this, and then
Yeah.
Luke Shaw. When you looked at like the numbers underneath, he was like, "Oh yeah, he's actually making a lot of chances. It's just United can't score anything. Like
Yeah,
we
yeah.
just had bad attacking spells, but he was like, there, oh, here's 3 or 4 chances a game, and you're like, okay, like he's still quite good going forward, but he just doesn't get the credit. Because I think the thing with with creators, and it's always been a problem that I've had with creative players, is they never seem to get the flowers unless the person in front of them does the things that they need to do. Like it's like, well, a guy can have like 10 to 15 missed assists that you will never remember, but they might be the best
It was
balls
like
you've
Giroud in the season where Arsenal were competing with Leicester for the Prem, and Ozil was on like 19 assists before Christmas, and then after Christmas he put up the same kind of like chance creation numbers, but Giroud didn't score another goal post Christmas, and it's just that kind of thing where Ozil could have smashed the assist record by about 10 to 15 assists, but because Giroud decided to take the second half of the season off, Ozil sat there on 19 assists. It's crazy.
Yeah, as my friend Carl Anker would say, it's the curse of Thierry Henry. That one, no one will ever beat those 20 assists. He's cursed everyone.
Yeah, literally.
Should we move into something that happened during the last game week of football? We're gonna be talking about VAR, PGMOL, just the absolute catastrophe they had across the Arsenal and Brighton games,
and even the Chelsea West Ham
game. Yeah, I mean, it was not a weekend for Howard Webb. He's the head of PGMOL, isn't he?
Yeah.
He came out with a couple of apologies. VAR, we've had it for a while now. And I was watching the England-Italy Six Nations game. I watched a little bit of that, and I was at a point where one of the England players he like pushed a potential defensive like Italian player over during when England scored like the second try or something, and instantly went to decision. In about a minute, they cleared it up. Referee said foul, no try, whatever. Bosh, done. Clear as day. Everyone was communicating clearly. Everyone knew what was happening. Brentford, Ivan Toney, right? How do we go from meticulously drawing like lines where you're measuring like the inch of someone's like pinky toe against like someone else's forehead to give an offside, and for some reason you just forget to draw the lines?
Yeah, and then they spent so long looking at one kind of aspect of that decision that they missed the actual offside. And it's, I don't know, Casey, where do you stand on like VAR? Are you like a big hater? Are you like thinking it's doing about what it's doing? Are you thinking you pro VAR? Where do you sit on the debate?
I think the thing is VAR as itself as a concept and as technology is great. I think it makes sense. Like it was always the natural progression of, whilst we have TV cameras, we have people seeing it at home who have like 15 replays. They're definitely going to get on our backs if we don't actually start using them properly.
Yeah.
I think it's always, but the problem is it's still the same people using them, and it's still the same people using them, and the rules are still based in what was there pre-VAR. They've not been fully adapted for VAR. So I think that you kind of just end up in this weird situation. Like, I mean, this weekend is a completely different scenario where it's just been what happened, like what actually happened here. It's like, because I remember the first ever VAR where it was like, I think it was United, or I saw on United game, I think it was United in the Carabao Cup or something. And I remember just Juan Mata got called offside, and it was the most slanted, drawn-on crayon line I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, is this really where it's going? And then like within half a season, it was like, oh no, we can like, if he's that much offside, like a fraction of a hair, we'll call it. But yeah, I think Howard Webb's probably. This is just my opinion. I think since he was brought in to try and shake things up, I think he might be slightly happy that this has happened. I mean, obviously that's just I don't know him, so I'm not going to say that's just my opinion on it. But like, it's given him a reason to go, right, let's get everyone in, and you have to listen to me because you just did that. Like
Yeah,
you can't just go, oh no, but it's just a little mistake. It's human error. It's like, no, you forgot to draw the lines. Like there's no two ways about it. You forgot to do it.
Yeah.
Like
You actually like dropped 2 teams that are competing for European football.
But if you
You've
think
lost them
about
2
like
points.
the outcome of that, like there's people who probably bet money on the game. The teams get win and loss bonuses. You got players who have won win bonuses. You got Ivan Toney getting paid out his goal bonus.
Oh, yeah. Ivan Toney's probably lost his bets.
Yeah, he's lost his bets because he bet on a 1-0.
Yeah.
So who knows? I mean, the outcome of it is massive, not just in terms of the gambling as well, or like the monetary side of it, but also Arsenal there are now out of 2 points or
2 points in a title race that is gonna come down to like a point either way or something like that. So
or City steamroller.
yeah, so it's one of those where I think it's a lose-lose in terms of Arsenal and Brighton, because what can you do? You complain and nothing changes, but then if you don't complain, nothing changes.
Well,
so
it's kind of also like you can't retroactively now go in and change the result of a game.
Yeah.
Unless it was something drastic where like you found the entire Brentford team were hopped up on like steroids or something prior to the match, and maybe you have a case. But it's like they're talking about Man City or the saga that's going on with them at the minute, retroactively stripping of their titles. Honestly, I think you could ask like most fans. I don't think they care anymore. Like this season's been good. If you get another title, another badge, or another star on your badge.
To be fair, United would get 3 extra prems. How do you feel about that, Casey? If they were to strip Man City?
Liverpool would get 3 extra ones as well. So let's cherry pick which ones we want to give.
Yeah,
I think the fact is like you don't really need to go back, but the problem is that it's going to take so long, that City case. If we just touch on that secondly, like City could have more titles by then, but I feel like in terms of that, I think if from the minute they've been charged with all this, I think if you go next 2 years, if it takes us 2 years to do this because of paperwork and working through trials and doing all that, if you win 2 more trophies, then we might question those, but we'll just leave the ones and all the fans can celebrate them in the pub as little asterisk titles and go, yep, we won 3 more. So it doesn't officially say it, but we know in our hearts, so on and so forth, because of what they've allegedly done. So yeah, I think the thing is that it might have a big say in the title race is probably the big thing from that. But then the thing is, it's like technology in the past has had a good say in the title race. And my AirPod's just fallen out, so we're just going to put that back in. And my other one's just fallen out, so that's a great start. Technical difficulties of
right. Usually it's Rod's mic.
To be fair, it's usually me.
Yeah. Let me just. And I think it's just one of those things where it's like you just need to look at it like, oh, the Liverpool City title race where it was 1 point, that was a 1 point because the Hawkeye saw that John Stones had got it off the line, or cleared it when it was on the line like that, and they're like, oh, okay, so now that is actually that's a positive use of it. And I think it is just a case of it's who's using it rather than.
Yeah, I think it's always going to be that case. Whilst you've got kind of this like little selective squad of weird fan like I don't know, this like group of white men
just sat in a room.
Yeah, just sat in a room dictating the entirety of English football. It's crazy.
I think what annoys a lot of people though is that we don't get to hear the conversations going on. And I'm not saying that every referee should be mic'd up throughout the entire game. We should hear every little thing that happens. But when it comes down to VAR decisions, and they're especially for fans sat in a stadium.
Yeah, the ones that take ages.
You're sat in a stadium and sometimes it goes 4 or 5 minutes and you don't know what's going on. And you might have celebrated a goal and then you got to cut your celebration short. And then you're watching the referee stand on the pitch for a bit. All the players are standing around going getting drinks. You're sat there thinking, what's going on? I think we saw video footage of
that Spurs fan. Are you talking about the Spurs fan in the Champions League where Spurs scored like a last-minute winner and he was like vlogging it and he was cheering and all that, and then the goal got ruled off?
No, I was going to talk
VAR,
about... You've gone down a tangent. No, I was going to talk about... In the A-League, the Australian League...
Oh, yeah, where
they're
mic'd
up.
There was
the video of the referee who was mic'd up, and every decision you could hear. And maybe the development of VAR in the future brings something in like that, because during the NFL as well, they do that. Referees announce decisions to the fans. You don't have to hear the entire process of, is he offside? Actually, we go back and play a little bit. We don't want to hear about all that, but we want to hear the important bits of conversation. So potentially we have referees who are mic'd up. We get to hear what's going on with the off-site VAR team, and we get like the most ridiculous like angles on our cameras, and we get like brilliant motion graphics and stuff. Surely mic up a referee for like 3 minutes of the entire game is not a problem.
Yeah, I think the thing with that is they don't. I think the thing is they don't want it to become the NFL, basically, where it's incredibly stop-start. Because as soon as it's one of those things. It's like they try to implement it with a very set of rules, and they were like, okay, this is what we're looking at. This is the only things we're going to look at, and we're going to try and do them as quickly as possible. As soon as you're like, oh, they're mic'd up, they're seeing every angle, it's like, okay. And then you've got a guy who's like, well, they can hear what I'm saying. So now I have to actually talk through my entire process and show every single angle and say why I don't want that, why I don't want that, like why that doesn't matter. And it kind of just gets into this long drawn out thing where you're like, oh, okay, now we're just like here for 5 minutes anyway, because this guy now has to explain everything to everyone. I think I think it is a general case of, I think offsides should be automated. I think we've had that in the Champions League already, and I think that's standard. I don't think we should have like, oh, is he offside? I think it's like, no, just get an automated system.
Either they are or they're not.
Yeah, that system looks like it's pretty sound, and the graphic they use is pretty understandable.
Yeah, brilliant. We spoke briefly about Manchester City,
and we've got a massive game this evening. So I'm very stressed at the moment. Do you see the news that apparently Thomas Partey is out of the game? So that's scary. But we're not going to talk about Thomas Partey. We're going to talk about one man for Man City called Erling Haaland. And I feel like everybody's had this debate this season because Man City are currently sat in second.
Yeah,
rather than like
a post about it as well.
Yeah, and I feel like when you see Man City anywhere other than first by about 10 points, you think, oh, they've dropped off.
The thing is, it is really weird because I don't even think you have to be like a football analyst to see that Man City compared to them a season, 2 seasons ago, the way they are, they as a unit, they are nowhere near as fluid.
Yeah. Where do you stand on the debate that City are worse with Haaland in the team?
Yeah, I did write about it, so I have an opinion, at least. It's probably the way to put it.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
I think the thing with City pre-Haaland was, and I coined this, so I'm going to call it. I don't think I coined it, but I'm going to say I coined it because it makes it sound smart. Is they subscribe to the everybody eats manifesto, is what I always put it. It's like if you got on the ball and someone was running into space, like no matter who it was on the pitch, they could score. They could score, they could assist, they could create. Like it was just about who was in the position with space at the time. So you had like loads of players on double figures goals. You had loads of just everyone contributing. Like obviously Rodri used to get loads of goals because he just was the guy who would hang around the edge of the box and stuff like that.
Yeah, Gundogan and Bernardo Silva.
Gundogan going crazy.
I just remember from FPL, them both of them going on mad runs like over the last couple of seasons where they end up on like 10 goals in about 6 games or something.
Yeah. So, but then they brought in Haaland, and it seems like that's now become one guy's feasting, and then everyone else is kind of like filtering into him.
Yeah, eating the scraps.
Yeah, and that's a completely fine way to play football. And I think I can use United as a kind of measure of this. Is like if Marcus Rashford isn't scoring for United, who else scores? That's where our problem is. And I think City obviously have other goal scorers, but they've not figured out a system that allows them to have Haaland on the pitch and also have someone else getting the goals. I think he's getting it. I think that game against Aston Villa was a bit more.
Yeah,
he understood what he needed to do. It was insane. I saw the lineup and I was like, the tactical part of his brain has just strangled everything else there. And it's just here we go. I do not care anymore. 3-2.
Yeah, Bernardo Silva on at left back. Who cares?
Yeah, but I think he's getting there with that sort of idea in his head. But I think it was the fact of they sold a lot of people. They sold Sterling. They sold Jesus. They sold Zinchenko, which I think is probably the biggest one since of how Cancelo's time went this season. It just seemed to be that their team wasn't as cohesive and their team wasn't getting as many opportunities to score from other areas. And I think that's the tweak that Pep needed to make was, yes, I have this goal scorer who can score 30 goals and I can play like that sometimes. But while he's on the pitch, I can also go bring 2 people over and go, you go there, and change it up and make it so like, oh, these three guys can also score and get into the area that he creates. So I think that's the shift that they need to make. But I think they've got worse, but they won't be consistently worse with him.
Yeah, I agree.
I've kind of got 2 points here. I think if you're Man City and you're having this problem where you've brought in who is probably the best goal scorer in the world, he is just an absolute machine. You're like back in the day from like old footballing philosophy, you do want that number 9 who scores all your goals, and that is how your system works. Like you're defensively solid, you build up through the breaks, and then you have a number 9 who is on the end of everything. They score a goal, and obviously most of Man City's success hasn't come like that. They've had players like Aguero and Jesus who are excellent in build-up play, and so like moving on to my other point is like potentially would Harry Kane have been a better option
100%.
as someone? Well, you say 100%, but
He definitely is.
Haaland's got what like 200 million goals this season already.
But
yeah,
go on.
Harry Kane is as a player we know is unbelievable in terms of build up and also unbelievably venomous in front of goal.
Yeah.
So maybe, I mean, obviously he's not as young as Haaland, but could that have been, maybe that would have been the better play?
I'll rebuttal you there. I think for Harry Kane, City wouldn't have had to change their system as drastically. Whereas Haaland, I think City probably didn't think they'd have to change their system as drastically, but have learned pretty quickly that the system to get Haaland scoring goals needs a big change. So I think to go on to your point, Harry Kane would have slotted in that team and they wouldn't have bat an eyelid. They would have continued playing as they were. But yeah, Haaland's invited a bigger change. I was watching the Champions League last night and I saw a clip of Thierry Henry talking about Man City and how he kind of his view on the situation. And he just said that they're not Man City like we know them anymore. And I think that is just it. They're still the best team in the league, probably. They're still probably one of the best teams in Europe, but they're just doing it in a different way.
I think you look at like other teams around the world, and like so you got like Liverpool, they're not the team they were. You're looking at Real Madrid, they're not the same team they were.
Yeah.
Barcelona, not the same team they were. Bayern Munich, they're not the same team they were.
And a lot
You've
of them
got
are coming
PSG.
because their teams are getting older now.
Exactly, we're seeing transitions.
Man City, they've got a lot of players now that are in around 30. You're talking Bernardo Silva, Mahrez, De Bruyne, Gundogan. They're all getting
pushing,
old. So it's both of them are probably looking at like a transition-y kind of situation.
The question I'll put to you, Casey, to see if you can get you can give us an answer to this. If so, Man City say they had a choice, they sign Harry Kane, they sign Haaland. In the world they sign Harry Kane, that he slots more fluidly into their system, but maybe the limit of what they could be as a team is lower because he's not the player that Haaland is,
and he doesn't have as much time left compared to Haaland.
If Man City, they've gone with Haaland, they've got Pep behind the wheel, so he's just mega minded it the entire time. Do you reckon that he will work it out? He will work it out, and it will end up being a better team for having Haaland in it as opposed to Harry Kane.
Yeah, I think the thing with Haaland was it was like whoever could get him in the end of the day was gonna it was the right decision. If you were the guy who decided to go to, it was the right decision because he's just one of those players that it's worth burning it all down for in the end of the day. Like his goal scoring rate is ridiculous. It's kind of like a sense of if he scores all the goals he's going to score, which he already has pretty much hit more than anyone expected. I think with Kane, I'm not 100% sold on Kane at City. I think obviously it depends how he changes game. I think when he was playing a lot further forward for Tottenham, he obviously wasn't playing much as creatively, and I think he obviously got injured a lot more. Was another thing that factored into that. But I think he plays well at Tottenham because he's allowed to kind of drop off slightly and then play it into Son. And whether they would have stole Sterling in that case is another thing, but they don't really have that kind of left wing presence who's like, he's also another striker. I mean, if you got Kane and Haaland, then they could have done. I mean, they have too much money. That's really, but in the sense of, and also I think he kind of drops into that area that De Bruyne likes to operate in, which is the thing that I've always said with United in terms of people keep saying Kane. I'm like, well, he kind of drops into the area that Fernandes drops into. So it's kind of like, well, you're now negating one of your best players in that sense and putting another player. And people might say, oh, Harry Kane's good at that. Be like, well, you've removed the influence of one player to put in another good player.
Yeah, you're not really gaining anything. Yeah,
is the jump then that big?
Yeah.
So it's like So in terms of his creative output, and then you look at his goal scoring output, and well, that's compared to Haaland. But yeah, I think they'll figure it out. Like the thing is as you say, it's Pep. He's one. Unfortunately, he's one of those managers who just looks at something and goes, "I'm going to change the system, and then I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to break all your souls because you spent the last 3 years trying to catch up to me." Like
Literally.
that's
I feel like he probably hasn't slept since, he probably hasn't slept in the last month or so.
Yeah,
He's
it's just got like diagrams up on his wall trying
You've
to
seen
figure out.
Always Sunny. It's like that the meme of Charlie when they walk into his
Yeah,
office.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's like got papers on the walls with strings, and he's
Yeah,
like,
that is literally
"I've got
Pep
it."
trying to figure out how to make this work.
And maybe Arsenal will be the ones on the suffering side tonight.
Yeah, ever since I saw the Thomas Partey news, my arse has got a little bit tighter. I'm a bit nervous, but yeah.
Should we talk about how the top of the table is shaping up before we head off? So obviously Arsenal, the sat at the top of the table. Ros is very happy, but he's a little bit nervous now. City breathing down their necks after Arsenal's last couple of games, and then we got the likes of United, Newcastle, hovering around there as well. How do you see the rest of the season playing out? I know that's the $1 million question because no one knows, but give us your best. How do you see the season shaping up?
Big one. I think the two City games, we've got two Arsenal City games, are massively important. I think the thing is that City can get into that steamrolling form where they're like, "Oh, here's 19 games unbeaten" or whatever. And I think that they could, it's the teams that need to beat them to get ahead of them that they need to beat. Like that was the case with Liverpool as well. So I think if you lose tonight, that could be massive. And I think that's kind of where I'm like, oh, I can't really make massive predictions because I think it depends on tonight and it depends on how that goes.
No, I totally agree. Like you said, I think the two games against City are our two biggest games. If we get nothing at all, we're fucked. Like they'll already be ahead of us. And then, like you said, if they get on a run where they just start beating everyone, we're in trouble.
I think if you get anything less than 2 points, like you need either 2 draws or you need like a win in one of them.
Yeah, for me, I'd take a win here and then a loss at the Etihad. But yeah, like you said, I think once City get going, the thing that they've got for them is squad depth is crazy. It's not as crazy as it always has been. They're like light in a couple of areas, but they've still got better squad depth than us. And so if Partey is injured and we miss him for a run of games, I could easily see us losing the games that we don't have Partey for.
Oh, and you got rid of Sammy Lokonga, mate. Oh no,
Jorginho in now, so it's.
I mean, I think is it QR?
Yeah.
He can play defensive midfielder as well.
Yeah.
In terms of the rest of the table, I think United and Newcastle will still stay in the top 4. Newcastle are just good. Like it's annoying that they got good this quickly.
Yeah.
But Eddie Howe took his time off and he went and looked at Diego Simeone and he was like, "Yeah, I'll play properly against the people I need to play properly against you, and then just like against them, I'll just be like, you're just not getting past us, like a low block, whatever it is."
Well, it's annoying the way that they've done it as well because they've got all this money, this Saudi money,
but they haven't
really spent it.
Yeah,
they've done
barely
it
even
really sensibly,
and
like that is why that they've got a lot of people on their side where they're like, we don't even care about the Saudi money because we're just doing it properly.
And then they'll get into Champions League, spend the Champions League money plus the Saudi money.
Then they're coming for Saka and Rashford.
Yeah, and then it's game over for everyone.
Yeah, it's like oh yeah, everyone who's getting Victor Osimhen? Is it going to be United? Is it going to be Paris Saint-Germain? No, it's Newcastle. Okay, sweet, great for that. Nice, fun times because he needs someone to replace Wilson. So
two kind of absolute flops of the season: Liverpool and Chelsea. Who do you reckon finishes higher out of them two?
I think Chelsea.
Yeah, the recruitment's crazy. You've got the whole new squad now, didn't they?
I think that's the thing. Like they've just bought a new team. Like they've bought every single position. Like, and the fact is Liverpool, they've bought every position they needed.
Yeah,
bar maybe 1 or 2, and Liverpool bought none. Of them. So like,
like the only thing they needed, the only thing they didn't need was another winger, and they got another winger in.
They were crying out. I think we said this every podcast. They're crying out for just something in that midfield.
Yeah,
but I would like to say against Everton, that counter attack was devastating.
Crazy, yeah.
That Liverpool, when they were at their best, they were the best in the world at that defense to attack transition. and we
But
got
then
a
I would
glimpse.
still say that it took 2 massive errors from Everton to actually let him score. Like, I
Yeah.
do not know where Pickford was going.
Oh, Pickford. So where do you stand on the? So I have a vendetta against Pickford. I think he's so shit. Who do you think should be England number 1?
Pope.
Pope. Yeah, I'd take that over Pickford. I think Pickford, he gets away with murder because he hasn't let England down. That doesn't mean I've never let England down.
And like he
I
pulls
should-
off.
To be fair to Pickford, when he plays for England, he just seems like a completely different goalkeeper. But when you watch
Yeah,
him
it's
in the league,
crazy.
sometimes you're like, how is this man even in the England squad? Let alone the guy who's
Genuinely.
regularly keeping the post.
Yeah, 100%.
Like,
All right, a quick one, yeah.
Yeah.
2 of Roz's favorite players. You started the Champions League final tomorrow. Who are you backing? Hugo Lloris in goal for you, or Jordan Pickford?
Hugo Lloris, I think.
I'd go Pickford.
I'd go Pickford as well.
I panicked.
think Pickford
No, they're both terrible.
I think
Just
Pickford
so
would. Jonathan Liu did a really good piece on Lloris, and he said that he looked the way that he described him was he's like a boxer that's got old in the ring, and every single match you watch him, you're like, oh yeah, that guy can't do it anymore, and then he shows you another way in which he can't do it. I mean, he had a little bit of resurgence, and then he got injured again. But I think Pickford is just insane in terms of he'll just psych himself into it. Like that's all he does. He just shouts himself until he's good. That's how Pickford works.
Yeah, 100%. I think, Lloris has more clangers, but he's in a better team, so he probably gets away with more. Whereas Pickford has perennially been in this shocking Everton team, and he'll have good moments and have bad moments, but I think that comes with the territory of being in that Everton team. So yeah, maybe I was a bit hasty picking Lloris, but I'd take neither of them. I'd play in goal in that case if I was stuck with them two.
Is that the way it's going?
Yeah.
Was for England.
I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, I think that we've covered quite a lot today.
Yeah.
But Casey, thanks very much for giving us your time, coming on the podcast and giving us your insight. Is there anything you'd like to plug? Any your Twitter or your blog or anything?
Yeah, my Twitter's at Casey_Evans_. I hate the underscores in there. It really annoys me. It makes it so hard to find. One day, the person who has just Casey Evans will relinquish it, and I will be on it. I'll have an alert set up. I'll do whatever.
We'll get our millions of followers to tell them to tweet Casey_Evans to cough it up.
No, not even underscore. I just want Casey Evans. It's an account with
fair enough,
no followers. Anyway, but then and I also have a newsletter, Played on Paper. It's where I write all my stuff. I'm just in the process of taking it paid, which is obviously it's like not great for the people who are listening. It's like you could have had it free too. 2 weeks ago.
It is good, though. I've given it a read and it is good. So even when he makes the paid, makes the jump to paid, consider it. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I've still got a couple of ideas in my head, but it's based on what I've been kind of like writing out a couple of drafts, but I think I know what I'm going to be talking about this week, which is going to be the first paid one. But if you want it'll be one unpaid one a month, and everything that's already on there you can read. So if you want to read nearly a dissertation's worth on Brazil and the World Cup and all those teams, it's there. But yeah, that's my 2 plugs, I think.
We'll link it in the description.
Yeah,
as
everything's
well
down in the description below. Make sure you go check out Casey. Casey, thank you very much for coming on. We do appreciate your time, mate.
Thanks for having me. It's been great talking. It's been great having a chat, and also great doing a theoretical situation of who would start in net for you at the Champions League final of Hugo Lloris and Jordan Pickford.
Shambles.
But
All right, cheers, Casey. Have a good evening, mate.